Today's guest describes herself as a Cleveland-loving wife, mom, sister, aunt, and friend, Girl Scout CEO, seamstress, knitter, and angler. I would add changemaker and perception buster to that list of accomplishments. In recognition of Women in Science Day tomorrow, we welcome Jane Christyson as the perfect leader to highlight the need for girls to explore STEM fields, for she reaches 25,000 young ladies through her work as CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Ohio. The role that she holds is the culmination of a long and successful career pushing boundaries in marketing, fundraising, and nonprofit leadership. She has lent her many talents to advancing United Way of Greater Cleveland, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and most recently, the Cleveland Metro Parks. Her work every day focuses on building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. As she said in a recent interview, it reminds me what a difference we are making, not only in the lives of girls, but in the whole community that is being lifted up by the power of the girl. Lest you doubt that, Girl Scouts fuel the female leadership pipeline. 80% of female tech leaders were Girl Scouts, 76% of female senators were Girl Scouts, and 100% of female secretaries of state were Girl Scouts. And they are not leaving behind the STEM fields. In tune with the changing times, just 3 years ago, Girl Scouts introduced 23 high-tech STEM badges in robotics. Jane herself was a Girl Scout and attained the highest honor, the Gold Award Girl Scout. Yet further proof that Girl Scouts produce great civic and professional leaders. Welcome, Jane.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much. So many familiar faces. I love seeing everybody out there, and I'm going to start right into my remarks so we have some time for questions afterwards. So when we start talking about Girl Scouts, the first thing I always like to say is Girl Scouts is more than cookies, crafts, and camping. And our alumni studies, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and Marianne talked a little bit about that, really crystallizes a lot of great leadership abilities in girls and brings that forward. Just out there, just wondering how many of you out there are Girl Scouts, have been Girl Scouts, you were a Daisy, a Brownie, ambassador, any of those things. If you could just put it in the chat log, and then if you earned any of the highest awards, put that in there too, so we can see how many Girl Scout sisters we have out there. Usually it's a bunch. We know that girls that are Girl Scouts for at least 3 years, and a lot of girls stay in a lot longer than that, are more likely to vote, more likely to have gone to college or earned an advanced degree, more likely to be a volunteer in the community, make about $10,000 more annually than their non-Girl Scout peers. So those are exactly the kind of workers you want and the residents you want in all of your communities. Next slide. So our mission, we've been around for more than 100 years, 108 years, and we're constantly evolving to meet the needs of the girls, and we're part of the larger network of Girl Scouts of the USA. We represent about 30,000 total members. As you said, we have about 23,000 girls, and the rest of them are adults that support those girls. And in the last few years, we have reorganized our program around 4 pillars, and those are STEM, the outdoors, life skills, and entrepreneurship. Next slide. But we also know that there's a gap, and we want to help with that. And we know women are underrepresented in many employment areas. And I'm going to talk about STEM because of the anniversary and all the work that we've done in that area. Women fill about 47% of the jobs in the United States, but they only hold about 28% of the STEM jobs. Those jobs are fast growing. They've grown about 80% since 2016. And the average wage for STEM occupations is more than $87,000. It's double that of non-STEM occupations of around $45,000. So we say those jobs are jobs for a Girl Scout. And it's time to stop squandering the potential of half of the population and get women ready to meet these emerging needs. So on our next slide, we talk about that Girl Scouts has an opportunity to work with girls and provide critical intervention at pivotal times. We have lots of young girls in our programs that we can impact. They're ready for these wow experiences that will put them on the path to a STEM career. And it seems incredible, but study after study confirms that as early as second grade, youth articulate that math is for boys, not for girls. And really, by grade 3, girls are making life-changing choices about whether or not certain careers are right for them. By middle school, even more girls are selecting out of the pipeline. And by high school, we know that only about 16% of all seniors right now, and that includes 11% of girls, declare an interest in STEM. So interesting, the business community is looking for answers for this. I had a gentleman who called me out of the blue and said, everybody says I should talk to you. And he was a person who worked at a company that did a lot of CNC routing. That's the modern equivalent of tool and die. So they make tools for industry. He said, my workforce is all men. It's 56 years old. I'm in trouble. I need more people in the situation. I need more people in my company. And I've been recruiting in the high schools, and I have one kid to show for it after 5 years. What am I doing wrong? And so I said, you need to work with kids earlier. You need to do our Brownie robotics badge at your company. And so girls and their caregivers can see that manufacturing is clean, it's technical, you can get a college degree, and it's a great opportunity for a career. And that's exactly what they did. But we need more partners in that in order to continue our mission. So on the next slide, we have the solution to closing the STEM gender gap. We know that girls need to explore a wide range of STEM interests, K through 12, really start young, understand how STEM helps people in society. Like a lot of times girls will articulate that they want to help people and they don't recognize that in STEM fields, you do help people. You help with designs and you create things and you make things that are good for all kinds of people, for women and men and all kinds of different perspectives. You don't have to be a nurse or a teacher to help people. They need to connect with role models and caring adults. You have to see it to be it. And they need to have access to physical resources and hands-on exploration to test out some of their interests. On the next slide, I talk a little bit about how we actually make this impact. We call it the Girl Scout Leadership Experience, and we encourage the girls to discover their values, their skills, and connect with others in a multicultural environment that's around them, and then take action to make a difference in their world, to make lasting change. So how do they do that? They do it through program activities that are designed to be girl-led. The girls choose and they move and they create these interest areas. They earn the badges they want to earn. That this is a cooperative and hands-on environment, that Girl Scouts create these processes that are high-quality experiences and very conducive to their learning. On the next slide, this shows a little bit of the badge work. In 2017, our national organization announced a national initiative to close the gender gap in STEM fields, and they released all these new STEM badges and activities. And they set all of us in the local councils on the path to becoming hubs for STEM education. As you can see by this chart, girls who participate in Girl Scout, if you start as a 5-year-old Daisy and you stay into high school, you could earn 120 STEM-related badges. In our council alone, last year we had our girls earned 14,000 STEM badges. And that's a lot of opportunity for learning. And we, all of our curriculum is tied to the Common Core standards. It's age appropriate. And we can ramp up very quickly because we have the audience. They know what a badge is and they want to earn it. So we can move very quickly into these program areas. On the next slide, I just showed some even more recent badges that just came out about 6 months ago. We're trying to make badges that are very relevant, and these are all automotive engineering badges, which have been very popular around this area because there's so many companies and individuals that are engaged in the automotive industry. So these badges, they learn about design, engineering, manufacturing, the whole gamut of how automotive engineering happens. On the next slide, just to say again, we're fueling that STEM pipeline and the leadership pipeline, and we're the only organization that's coupling this topic information that girls need to know along with the leadership experience, as well as some entrepreneurial things developed through the Cookie program. But how many of us know a worker who's a wonderful technician but doesn't have the communication skills, the teamwork, the resilience, the grit, the leadership kind of attitude to be your very best employee? We couple those two things together so that the girls get the full experience. And as Marianne used some of these statistics in the opening, we know 52% of the women business owners. There's 21 women senators in the US Senate right now. 71% of them have been Girl Scouts. Every female Secretary of State, if you can name them all, bonus points out there. There's only 9 female governors, which just get your head around. 50 states, only 9 female governors. What's wrong with that picture? But 5 of the 9 have been Girl Scouts. We also know from our friends at NASA, who we do a lot of programming with, that 90% of the women that are in the NASA astronaut program, either on ground crews or in flight instruction, have been Girl Scouts. So they do a lot of work with us because they know that's a pipeline for them. And we all like to say that when the first woman is finally elected to be president, she will have been a Girl Scout. So we always monitor all the candidates as they come through. Not only do we have this kind of programmatic pieces, but it's very important to have partners in the community to make that programmatic things come alive. So here's a bunch of our different partners with just a smidgen of some of the partners we work with on some of this programming. I wanted to mention our partnership with America Makes as a particularly unique opportunity. Many of you might know that if you're in the tech industry. They're a national organization that's focused on additive manufacturing and 3D printing and promoting that in manufacturing. And we received a grant through them that we hired a person just a couple of months ago that will do nothing but STEM programming for our girls. They really want to be a partner with us and make sure all those badges get out there. And we do programs that extend those badges so that we get girls that are interested in those kinds of fields. On the next slide, so I just couldn't end this program without talking a little bit about what we're doing locally. Some of you out there who are Girl Scouts have been to Camp Ledgewood. This is we own about 1,000 acres of camp property, and this is one of our 3 camps that we have. And we've put about $9 million into Camp Ledgewood over the past few years. We've been able to increase the number of beds that are available there. We put Wi-Fi in and updated all the amenities and everything that we have. And we're getting it ready because we think this can be a place where we can really have meaningful experiences, both in the outdoors and tie it to a STEM experience. Latest thing we've built at Camp Ledgewood is on the next slide. That's our Chickadee Program Center. And we put into the Chickadee Program Center, it's to start to have an opportunity for girls to come to camp and learn some STEM activities, is this Fab Cab. It's sort of a maker space on wheels. And we use this with the girls. There's a badge where you develop your own board game. And sure, you could cut those pieces out of cardboard and develop those, but isn't it a whole lot more fun to design them and then use a laser cutter to cut them out or a 3D printer to create them? That's the kind of wow experiences we want to build into this program. So our big audacious idea is on the next slide, and that is to create a STEM Center of Excellence on the camp property. It will be built at Camp Ledgewood. It'll be our center for STEM education, have classrooms, have vegetative roof, water quality testing opportunities, all kinds of great stuff within this building. It'll be a resource for all of our members, but our members primarily use camp during the whole summer and then on weekends during the school year. But on weekends during the school year, weekdays during the school year, we want to open this up to all the students that surround this area. Since Camp Ledgewood is sort of equidistance between Akron, Canton, and Cleveland, we know there's tens of thousands of students in elementary school and middle school that could benefit from a trip, either a day trip or an overnight trip to an experience like this. And our partners, the schools in this area, are very eager to have us do this sort of a facility because it really doesn't exist right now. It gives them an opportunity to spark interest in STEM in the younger kids. So when they have an opportunity in high school to take on a STEM activity, they've started to build that capital within themselves and that interest. And then just in closing on the last one, sometimes I still am asked why are Girl Scouts in this space? And why do we need this building? You know, can't we just take the girls somewhere else or do something? And the reason is, and this was a very interesting discussion with Senator Matt Dolan when we went down there to ask the state to help fund this building, which they did. They just gave us notification of a $100,000 capital appropriation for the building just a couple of weeks ago. But he said to me initially in our conversation, we've spent a lot in the state of Ohio. We have funded STEM centers at high schools and in community colleges and vocational schools. Why can't you just take your girls there? And I said, well, those buildings are really built for career readiness. They prepare somebody for a very specific career, and we want to have a different experience for our girls. And I said, quite frankly, you know as well as I do, it's just not a matter of if you build them, they will come. You need to tee up these kids, both boys and girls, in order to have that interest in taking on a STEM career. And he said, I will support your application for this. So, you know, it's that kind of conversation that we have one-on-one with leadership to explain where we are as an organization and what we're doing. So what can you do? You can join us. You can become a member. We'd love to have you. It's only $25. We'd love to have you as a volunteer. If you love things like zip lining and rock climbing and archery, boating, we need facilitators and volunteers. You can donate. We would love for you to donate to our cause, or have somebody talk to your company if they're in this space. And lastly, I always ask everybody to be an ambassador for Girl Scouts. So tell people that we're more than cookies, crafts, and camping. Tell 5 people in the next few months what Girl Scouts is doing right now for young women and girls in this area, and ask them to join us as well. So on that note, I'm happy to take questions from everybody.
Jane, thank you so much. And we have had a few questions come in. So let's start with talking about what do you see as some of the primary barriers to more participation by girls in STEM, and how can all of us begin to address those barriers?
Right. I really think it's a perception that happens with girls where they literally are taking this off ramp. That is not something I'm doing anymore. I am not on the path to a STEM career. That's not something that's part of what I'm going to do at a very early age, because they're getting this messaging and the interactions that they have. They're just saying, this is not for me. But if you do some pre-work with girls and you teach them about coding or mechanical engineering in a fun way where they really understand that they can have success in this, then that's where they get back on that train and they have an opportunity to continue to move forward. I think we've been teaching STEM the same way, and I'm not blaming the schools. They have, they've been wonderful partners, but just the way girls are socialized and other things, this has been happening for a long time, and we've really not made a lot of progress. So I think we need to look at this issue in an entirely different way, and that's what we're trying to do at Girl Scout.
So thinking that the past year has looked so different, and curious how the pandemic has impacted the activities of Girl Scouts.
Yeah, we've had a lot of cancellations. We had a cancel summer camp, which is, it's a knife in the heart of every Girl Scout, when you have to do that. But we had to switch a lot of our programming to a virtual space, like a lot of folks did. It was very interesting. As soon as the pandemic started, we were right about to start selling cookies. The cookie sales, the booths were just about to start. And it was so interesting for me to go on to Facebook and other places to see that leaders had immediately stepped up and started doing virtual cookie booths and saying, hey, if you give me $5, I'll take a box of cookies to a first responder. I will take them to a nursing home. I will take them to these places and drop them off. And how girls immediately, and the volunteers that support them, started thinking about how they can help the community. How can they do things differently? Then they started doing things like inspirational, just talk walks for people to see when they were outside, teddy bear hunts. One group did a community egg hunt that you could do from the car. Another group raised money and got donated cookies, and with the Ohio Turnpike's help, set up a cookie station for all the truck drivers at one of the restaurants that are on the Turnpike. I mean, they just we didn't tell them to go do this stuff. It was just all baked into part of the Girl Scout mission, where it's like, okay, people are in trouble, people are scared, people are sad, we need to do something right now. So that's what has really changed about what we were doing, is a lot of the self-directed virtual programming and virtual meetings that people have done.
Have you seen a growth in participation in Girl Scouts? And what are some of the new ways that you've engaged across the community to bring more girls in?
We have unfortunately not seen a growth this year, particularly. A lot of our recruiting is done in the schools, and we couldn't do that this year. So it's been very difficult to get membership. I do think that will change as the schools open up and as we have more opportunity to talk to folks. I think what we've tried to do is work with our partners in after school programming that were virtual, work with our partners like CMHA and some of these other places where we know where girls are and we can meet them where they live and help them in that way.
So how can we continue to engage girls through this pandemic when so many kids are virtual online at school and it's hard to keep their attention virtually because they've had so much screen time all day?
Yeah, and that we are combating that, and that is a difficult thing that we work with our girl experience staff who does the programming. Some of the things that we've done are hands-on badge in the box activities for girls. So our program team has said, here's everything you need in order to do one of these badges on your own at home, or maybe you could take it to camp. We left the camps open for day passes so people could come with their families. When we saw that a lot of the local parks were very crowded, we wanted to have opportunities for our families to come to our camps and do that. So some of the badges were, you could take them out to the outdoors and earn them. So some of those hands-on activities have been very positive and very helpful for our members. But we miss being together. It's an organization that, and it's a model that really is built off meeting in person. So we've had to be very clever about how we've offered sort of fun programming that people would want to get engaged in.
So for those of us who know some Girl Scouts in Northeast Ohio through friends, family, how can we support them and get them connected to some of the STEM opportunities you offer?
Yeah, buy cookies, first of all. Girl Scouts, we're in cookie sale time. If you don't know a Girl Scout, you can go on our website and Google or search for the Cookie Finder app, and they'll connect you to a troop in your area. So you could go ahead and find those. I don't want anybody to be without Girl Scout cookies. That would be very, very sad. So I want to make sure you all know how to get them. The other thing is connect them to council or connect them to what's called their service unit. And their service unit is a collection of troops, and they're sort of the nexus for a lot of the information that is coming through council and available on our website. We have a lot of our virtual program that's on there. I also would encourage anybody out there who is interested in becoming a badge boss. We have a volunteer opportunity where an individual or a company can learn all the requirements for an individual badge. And then we put you on something. It's kind of like a Yelp site for Girl Scouts. And then girls that are looking to earn that badge can connect with you, and you can help them earn a badge. And particularly if you're in a STEM occupation, it's so wonderful for these girls to earn the cybersecurity badge from somebody who's working in that industry. So we would love to have you volunteer. Laura's actually on this call. I saw her answering somebody before. If you want Laura to call you, go ahead and put that in the chat log, and we'll make sure that she's in charge of badge bosses, that you have that opportunity. We have a lot of individuals and organizations. Some organizations put together a group of people that are in charge of a badge, so that they kind of spread out the work among a bunch of people. But it's so fun to see them share their passion for their talent, for their career, for their avocation, whatever it is, with the girls, and for the girls to see that excitement and to see that role model. It's so important for girls to see people that are like them and say, yeah, I can do that too. And that's what a lot of Girl Scouts is about, that mentoring and that opportunity to see role models.
And Jane, for you, from your position, what has been one of the greater challenges for you this past year, and how have you led through that?
Oh my gosh. This has been the toughest year of my professional career. I will say hands down, there's nothing that's even close. And I would say anybody who's working in a nonprofit would say something similar. It has been extremely difficult to understand where our recruitment is going. How long is this going to last? How do you plan? How do you, something like camp takes a lot of lead time. How do you try to understand what the requirements will be when we open? The thing that has gotten me, I know this sounds so corny, but the thing that has gotten me through all this is I am like skulking around on Facebook, seeing what all these volunteers and troops are doing. And it just feeds my soul. I mean, it is the only way that I have gotten through this is the inspiration from all these volunteers and girls that have just said, we're not going to wallow in this. We're going to go out and figure out how to help in our community. We're going to take the lead. We're going to still have a troop. We're going to still go out and do things. That has been my biggest inspiration in my way to go through this. We've had a wonderful board and finance committee that has helped guide us through this as well. And it really has taken a lot of good souls in order to get us through this tough time.
So as we begin to look ahead, where do you see the Girl Scouts organization heading in the next 10 plus years? And what type of partnerships or collaborations might you need to get there?
Well, really, we really feel that our sweet spot is around the talent pipeline. We feel like we've got a lot of good resources. We've got a wonderful big group of girls that we can impact. We've got fabulous volunteers that are willing to take up the mantle and the challenge of what we're doing. We've got a great staff that is working with us, but we need those connections in the community, both from a fundraising standpoint and also from a support standpoint. Only about 6% of all the donations in America right now go to causes for women and girls. We don't get a lot of money falling out of the sky. That's one of the reasons that the cookie program is so important to the operations of our council. But if we had more partners that were working with us, we really feel we could help the business community. We could fill that talent pipeline with great employees and wonderful folks that'll really support what you're trying to do as an organization, as well as keep our organization robust and growing.
So we have time for one more question.
Okay.
So as you think about this year, what excites you most about what's to come in 2021?
Oh my gosh, I think it's hugging someone. Maybe that's my most exciting thing, isn't it? I think so. To have that opportunity, I don't think there's anything that can compare to when you have a girl that's doing a hands-on opportunity and really discovers something about what they have a passion for and that they are good at and that they didn't realize. To have those experiences in person, to stand alongside with the girls and the volunteers as they discover these things about themselves. One of the things I do, I love fishing. So I do a introduction to fishing at our camp in our pond, and I teach girls how to fish, and we make fish tacos and, go through the whole thing. But I am really looking forward to being able to do that again. That opportunity to introduce somebody to a new passion and work alongside with their volunteers and leaders at our beautiful camps is something I really cherish. You can't do that virtually. There's no virtual fishing. Well, yes, there is, but not like that.
Well, Jane, thank you so much for sharing your work with the Girl Scouts. And based on the chat and all of the comments, you have a lot of fans of the Girl Scouts and of your leadership. And so we are thankful to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for showing up, everybody. I appreciate it.
I'm going to turn it back to Mary Ann.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, Jane. The Girl Scouts clearly is a very different organization, even than when my daughter went through. So it's inspiring to see. And thanks for the great leadership you're showing for all our young ladies in Northeast Ohio.
Thank you.